Day of the Covenant. Hebrews tells us in the New Testament that to enter into the Sabbath rest is to cease from your work and to pick up His work. That's what it tells us in the book of Hebrews. And so here we have this classic battle which we see demonstrated in American life. People way too busy serving Pharaoh, they cannot serve God. They cannot work for God. They work and they work and they work, and what they say, I can't get involved in this, I can't do that, I am way overworked. One big message, get free. Get free so that you can truly walk in that seventh day, the Day of the Covenant. So why do you take the people from their work? Get back to work, stay busy. And then the story goes on in chapter 7, verse 7. Moses was 80 years old and Aaron 83 years old when they spoke to Pharaoh. And in verse 16 of chapter 7, you shall say to him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, sent me to you, saying, let my people go, that they may serve me in the wilderness. And behold, you have not obeyed. You have not obeyed. So what happens is, this brings on the 10 plagues. The 10 plagues. Basically, what we have here is, it's showtime. It's a showdown is what's going to take place here, and it's very interesting. Now, God is so merciful. What's He going to do? We know what the ultimate plague is, the 10th plague, the Passover, the death of the firstborn. God is going to give Egypt not one, not two, not 3, 4, or 5, but 9 opportunities to repent. 9 opportunities. And it's going to be a strategic strike that is going to demonstrate to Egypt and, more importantly for this story, demonstrate to his firstborn son Israel that these gods of Egypt are false, but they're thoroughly embedded in the hearts of the Israelites. So what is God going to do? He is going to break them of their addiction, and He's going to demonstrate publicly that Yahweh, I am who I am, is the only true God, and He's going to defeat them. So what does He do? The first 9 plagues correspond to what Egyptians worshipped. Those 9 plagues directly correspond to what Egypt worshipped. Let me explain. The first one is the Nile. Remember, He says, I'll strike, in chapter 7, in verse 17, I will strike the water that is in the Nile with the rod that is in my hand, and it shall be turned to blood. The Egyptians worshiped the Nile, believe it or not. The Nile was the source of commerce. It was the source of agriculture. It was the source of their whole industry. And the god that was represented in the Nile was the god Hapi, H-A-P-I. And I'll give you all the names of these gods, Hapi. And so they would worship the Nile. And here God is saying, with the rod, strike the Nile, it'll turn to blood. What does that signify? Defeat. And at that point, I must say, the Egyptians were not happy. The second god that he went after was frogs in chapter 8. Can you believe that they worshiped frogs? And so God brought forth frogs from the deep. They came up and they were everywhere. But the problem is you can't step on a frog. And so they're immobilized. What is going on? Now, the name for the frog god is Hek, H-E-Q-T, H-E-Q-T. And so as the frogs were covering the land, you know the people came outside, looked at their neighbors and said, what in the heck is going on? So that was the second god. The third was gnats, the god of Hathor, H-A-T-H-O-R, Hathor. The fourth was the god of the flies, Shu, S-H-U. Don't even have to say that one, do I? Interestingly enough, that's when shoe fly pie was invented. No, I'm just kidding. When the flies came, sure, shoo! Well, then after the fourth plague in chapter 8, in verse 25, then Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron and said, go sacrifice to your gods. go sacrifice to your gods with